hello, and welcome to another wonderful episode of Submitted for Your Approval, the weekly card review show for the collective card game where users submit their own cards. We're going to talk about submissions that got in last week and submissions that might get in this week. I am joined today, as always, by my faithful co-host, Grief.
Howdy, y'all.
And today we have a guest with us today who is a fellow beta player like myself. The realm admin for Carachar, the cartoon realm, that's doing pretty well currently, almost hitting his first age, aren't you?
We are one card short, hoping to have a good design this week, but nothing in the works, still things in the works.
Welcome to Shadowknight. So let's get straight into it with the accepted submissions. Now, the one I wanted to talk about, first of all, new designer, new artist, amazing in-game, in-art editor artwork. We have Feeding the Hatchling, which is a 4-drop strength exclusive action from Nowhere in Particular, and it adds +4/+3 and flying to a friendly unit permanently. So this is cool. Adding flying to something is always really powerful because we don't have a lot of stuff that interacts with it. We don't have a lot of stuff that gives it basically the air. We have a lot of free airspace here at Collective, and I think this is a great push toward it. Permanently was a very interesting design choice, but we'll see how that kind of pans out. What kind of role do you think this will have in the meta, Grief?
It's a little bit hard to say. I mean, people are already using Griffin for stuff like that in particular, and using it because it leaves a unit behind. But if you are currently playing the Ward Meadows deck, this could be utilized as an quote-unquote equipment. That's not an equipment. Giving your Ward units flying permanently as well as a 4/3 buff. That's pretty steep, especially for the cost. Weird thing that is exclusive, but well, beggars can't be choosers.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting simple effect. It being permanent and then it being exclusive to strength just feels weird. The Shadowknight?
Yeah, the exclusivity is kind of makes a bit of an issue for me. Just because if you wanted to play this in something like Undead, kind of loses that kind of option, and that would be kind of crazy having your Undyed Brutes as 6/5 flyers or 6/4 flyers,
or Belfry or something like that.
Yeah, buffing Belfry, so it then can attack because normally it can't, and also then any unit that comes back gets that extra buff also. Well, I do like if they did the grammar correctly though. I like that. that made me happy because it would have been funny if they did not have the comma.
Yeah.
But wonderful art, especially when we're talking about art. First of all, this is done with the art editor, so props to the artist, considering how limited that tool is. But on another note, there's something else for upcoming or amateur artists in our community.
Yeah, and I mean, you've seen like Shadowknight stuff. We need better art.
As I say, there's a cute little event that's coming up.
Yeah. Good point. Good time to bring that up. So Faedus, the guy behind like Hate Spawn, just look at the prettiest cards in the game. If Shadowknight didn't make it, Faedus probably made it. He's actually hosting a unit art contest, so we'll provide the link in the description. And if you want to try out your skills in editor, out of editor, if you got the pass, give it a shot. Actually, I think you just need to submit the art, so don't even matter.
Yeah, you can draw it by hand and just take a picture with your phone if you want to do that, or any digital art. You don't have to be able to have it actually be on a card. So.
Yeah, and if this is your preferred medium, more power to you. So let's talk about Aggi, the Oasis Herald. Aggi, Oasis Herald is a 3-drop strength, 3/3 Lizabo from Anuguia. With summon, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, choose one that costs 5 or more to draw. So this is cool, beautiful Shadowknight art. interesting effect and an interesting effect for Unguya. What do you think about it, Shadowknight?
So the issue I have is it's great that it's a Lizabo, but it doesn't really work in a Lizabo deck. So that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
I mean, it works for flavor, so I'm cool with that. It's just like if you're a new player and you're like, oh, I want to make a Lizabo deck, and you search for Lizabo and you see this, you're like, what 5-cost guys am I putting in my Lizabo deck? I mean, there are a few, but
yeah, I think Legacy has some in the pool, doesn't it, Grief?
Yeah, a handful of 5 attack.
yeah, you
5
got
attack, 5 cost.
Ricty.
Even the tutor, the Pathfinder should cost 5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There are a few, but this kind of pushes us to. I know a lot of people have been trying to make dragon decks, and this seems like this could slot into something like that.
Yeah, I think it's actually. I mean, if you look at the line here, I don't think it's for the Lizabo deck. I think it's for the Unguya deck because they focus on those higher cost, bigger units, the big dinosaurs roaming about. So this is for a dinosaur, maybe for a dragon deck, and I think it's interesting that it could slot into both pretty well. What are your thoughts, Grief?
I love this card. I love the art, I love the effect, I love that it's an Lizabo that does stuff utility based and not just, okay, I hit something pretty hard. Also, it's the most modern looking Unguya Lizabo that I've seen so far.
Yeah, actually, so I heard a little bit of the story behind this. So General Cat had this art on their general art page, and Space Turtle wanted it because Space Turtles always want cool arts, and who doesn't want a General Cat art? So the backstory for this is that it's in the future relative to the timeline. So it references that it's Masuta's descendants, or Mafuda's descendants. So this is like several generations after the technology is upgraded a little bit. So I don't know if we'll do any more of these future designs for Unguya, but we'll see.
That makes pretty much sense mechanically.
Yeah.
Okay, but back to what a card is actually used for, or can be used for. Yeah, Dragon's a pretty janky support card. That's pretty good. It's the best Dragon support so far, because I don't really count Javan and Dragon Call for other reasons. But even for anything that's basically that basically wants high cost units and filters them out to basically for old stuff like what's it called, Butcher in Legacy that halves the cost of your units and creates 2 copies of it, or other mechanics in that regard. Also, this reminds me of one of my favorite decks in Duel Masters, Gale Vesper, which basically functions as such. You have certain high cost units with extremely high attacks, and you have a card that's called Gale Vesper that reduces the cost of your high cost units based on their high attack. Maybe we'll get there someday.
And we have that Barak. We got the Barak.
We also have Obsidian Giant that's also basically in that regard.
Yeah. So yeah, that would be some interesting stuff to see some high attack support, and to see like a real good like strength beaters deck. And for our final accepted submission, this was Shadowknight's pick. We're going over to Fork. Fork is a 2-drop strength action from nowhere in particular with choose 2 units. Your opponent chooses 1 to destroy. This interests me. First of all, it's a 2-drop kill spell. So that's off there. Care to explain your motives with picking it, Shadowknight?
Well, I personally just like chess, and we have a lot of unused chess art, so I'm happy that we got one that was used. It's also an interest. I'm not exactly sure how this interacts with ward and things. I would have to see how it works in game, because I'm not sure if this pops 2 wards and then the opponent still ends up destroying their card. If it does something like that, this is amazing. It probably shouldn't, but if it does, that's awesome. And it's just interesting seeing different options of removal in the game, and also just kind of a different way to go with red.
Yeah, I think the crop on this art was kind of tragic. I eat cannibals a lot of work into this piece, and I can't see the horsey's eyes. That horse has wild eyes, by the way. Grief, what are your thoughts on it?
it's kind of unique because it doesn't say that you're choosing only your opponent's units.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like a mandatory effect, and considering that it reminds me heavily of Queen's Gambit, it's pretty in line with that effect. Thing is though, you can also use this only on your own units when you're building an Entombed or Dice Matters deck.
Mm-hmm.
You can also utilize this to dodge certain effects like, oh yeah, I want to wipe the board or stuff like that, but don't want to get off get this unit banished when you're basically just off of my head, stuff like
Mm-hmm.
or that banishes your cards, or if you basically replace cards and you want to keep that unit in your graveyard, or as a matter of fact, use it on 2 units on your opponent's side, and they basically are like the chess maneuver fork, forced to pick the worst option they have.
Mm-hmm.
This is probably pretty high skill card or removal to use, and there's probably always a situation where you can somehow play it in your favor. My interest is if there's only 1 unit on board, so your opponent has to basically pick that single unit.
Yeah, that's fun. Pick off their last piece. So yeah, I agree. It's a very skill testing kind of thing. It'll be interesting to see kind of what role it plays in the meta. It's pretty efficient for a ward popper. I mean, in ward or against ward, just hitting 2 wards is not bad for 2. I mean, not great, but not bad. So yeah, let's get into the cool stuff now. The accepted submissions. We have Stale Bread, which is a 2-drop neutral food from Hope's Hollow. So a couple things. We got a DC going. Hope's Hollow, the very dreary medieval farming village, bunch of hungry people going about and eating bread from the local church, which is the gaining power structure by feeding people. So Stale Bread is a 2-drop neutral 0/4 food from Hope's Hollow. With each turn, force play a slice of stale bread and feed +1/+1. A slice of stale bread is a feed +1/+1 0-drop food. So as long as this stays alive, your units that you play get 1 bigger. You can proc food synergy effects. And of course, if you have a handful of beggars, this gets them just a little bit stronger. I absolutely love the strategies and the synergies with Hope's Hollow. I'm very interested to see where it goes. And I think this is a nice piece from Zinker. Zinker, by the way, is trying to create at least 1 food from each realm. So, of course, he had to stop everything he was doing and go for the food realm. What do you think about it, Grief?
First of all, I like the wording. It's not fed unit.
Yeah.
Please don't use that anymore. On the other hand, it actually provides something interesting for feed decks, because usually you have to play your food cards. Those can be interacted with. Your opponent can probably disrupt your hand in between those instances. You need usually enough units to get there. But this is just the start of the turn. +1/+1 buff to every unit that you're playing this turn, which is pretty good, especially if you're already aiming for the food deck, so you don't really have to focus on your stat buffing food anymore, but more on your utility food cards, like drawing cards, gaining keywords, so on and so forth.
And blood pudding or blood jello, whatever the jello card is losing or is dropping down to 1 cost. I think with the new update, it was pretty high rated. So having more of those utility foods in the cycle is good. So one thing we do kind of have to talk about, there was a recent update and the change to how text boxes work. So now if you're common, you get this itty tiny bitty baby text box that cannot fit all the words you might need. And a lot of players are frankly unhappy with it. I think this is a casualty right here, because this is now a food that can attack and block just fine because that can't fit on the line. This is not an uncommon effect. It would be a waste of an uncommon slot because now the rarities are locked. But There's nothing else we can do. So we're stuck with stale bread that can attack or block. So if you want to use this as an attacker, go right ahead.
Don't forget, the same limitations apply to tokens as well. So I think that's basically the most text you can fit on a common, by the way.
Yep.
And I think the same limitation applies to the token just beside it.
So that was not intentional from what we've heard. The tokens are, I don't know how large the token text box is supposed to be, which rarity, if it's supposed to be rare or
I think it's the uncommon box. I don't think it's the box.
Yeah. So
yeah.
So that was not by intention. I've been testing Hope's Hollow because today is actually a custom card tournament that's being hosted by Mystic Quester. So players were able to create their own custom cards, and we're all going to be testing them out in decks. Also using the entire card pool that's currently in collective, so legacy type stuff. So just with some of the Hope's Hollow and legacy cards, you can deal like lots of damage on turn 3. Like I took a screenshot where I had like 8 3/3 beggars out on turn 3. So that was just really like a Hope's Home and a food cart. Food cart is not standard, so we don't have to worry about that. But things can get crazy pretty fast.
Did you try food cart? Because funny enough, this card is a food cart.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting synergies. I'm very excited to see where it goes. Now, the other thing that we had going on the same week, this is a busy week, which is sad because the text crunch, is the Spider Jam. So the archetype completionists we talked about and playing on the show, you should know who they are by now. They decided to do spiders. Spiders' common affinity identity is blocking, which is weird. It's kind of awkward. So the Black Widow is a 6-drop spirit 4/8 spider from Teados with ambush, deadly, life bond, ouch. After attacks are declared, if there are no enemy units attacking, choose an enemy unit it attacks. Now, there were probably a couple other people who are thinking something similar, but as far as I know, I'm the one who suggested this. The problem with having spiders be block heavy is the choice to block the choice to attack is not in your hands. So I was thinking a direction for spiders would be to maybe force their hand a little bit. So after attacks are declared, if there are no enemy units attacking, force an enemy unit to attack very much forces their hand, especially into the super scary 4/8. Yeah, you're going to die. You just pick a unit to kill, basically. The art, by the way, this is, I guess, an old VM Nunez art from the sheet. I haven't seen VM around. So I'm glad to see this used. And this is cool. How's it doing? It's doing pretty well. What do you think, Shadowknight?
I really like it. It's a very good ability. I'm pretty sure I gave it an upvote. We usually get in about 2 cards from the card jam each week, and this looks like this might be one of the 2. So that's cool. And yeah, it's just a good mid-range unit. Functions as a removal spell once or twice, gains you some life, can attack in a pinch. That's not what it's mainly used for, but it's still a 4/8 body, so it's still got 4 attacks, still can deal some damage. So yeah, it's just going to do what you need to do, especially in spiders or any mid-range spirit deck. And spiders love these types of effects where, as Stranger was saying, forcing your opponent's hand, because they have a lot of things where they gain experience as they block, draw cards as they block, things like that. So making it so you get that block and can proc all those different things is great.
Yeah. Grief, what's your thoughts?
Before I say something, my question is, does this force an exhausted board to attack?
I believe so, because force attacks are even on exhausted units.
Okay. That just adds to the pros to that card.
Yeah. Because I mean, if someone has no units to put down, they're now racing this thing, trying to slam down as many units as possible.
So I don't make it a secret that I really don't like spiders and their design. because for the longest time they have been a really horrible tribe, and the realm they are added in isn't really better. But this is one of the few cards, even from the Spider Gems, because I also don't like a lot of spiders from the Spider Gem, that I really, really enjoy to see, to read, and to play with, and I hope to play with. Because first of all, it's a pretty potent controlish body, which is a key mark on mid-range to high-cost units for Spirit. It has ambush, it has deadly, and it gives you life bond. So and with a 4-attack body, it also plays pretty well into bomb grenade and into pumpkinkin. In addition to that, this basically is a pretty good stalemate breaker in control matchups, especially now that I know that it also forces exhausted units, or a board that is exhausted due to active units and so on and so forth. So in that case, your opponent has to basically attack into a unit that is large enough to block anything, and even if it is too big to kill it off with 4 HP, the deadly will do the job. So racing this thing off the board is probably quite tedious. Also, the moment you drop this, you get, for the fun and quirky players out there, this is a 4 and a 6 and an 8 for your grocery list.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't have anything bad to say about the card. I just hope it gets in, because it's an uncommon, and we probably need some in this common apocalypse.
Yeah, and I think this is pre-update or a little bit. I do think it's interesting. So I designed Scheming Broodmother for the jam, if you guys have seen it on the board. Didn't put Teodos on it because Teodos is actually supposed to be this happy cherry spider utopia, and I didn't think it goes. So this is our darkest, edgiest thing that Teodos has right now. So anyways, another card from the jam, Bolas Peacock. It is a 1-drop spirit 1/2 spider from nowhere in particular with active pay 1 mana, exhaust a unit. I think this card is hilarious. Cornmeal, great job. Because it's a spider that is attacking with a Bolas. And that's just a flavor win for me. I don't know why. It's weird. I mean, a spider is like very, very known for what its ability suite is, and giving it a different weapon just, I don't know, cheers me up. I didn't like this. One thing I didn't like about this card was the pay 1 mana here. I feel this could have been fine. It's just exhaust. We don't have enough of this effect, and it's super susceptible to removal anyway. It's doing Grief, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, the pay 1 mana makes me die a little inside.
Yeah.
So, it's a 1-drop unit that basically tries to lock down specific boards. This would help play into Black Widow, especially since now you can exhaust specific duelists or active units, or even attackers that you don't really want to deal with, and can force out the squishier targets now. And for 2, this unit has to basically survive an entire turn's cycle to basically get that effect off, and you also have to pay 1 mana. Why not just play a 1-drop unit and wipe a strike or stuff like that?
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Shadowknight?
So this is a very common effect in Magic. There's usually one of these in every set. Sometimes it's on artifacts, which are a lot better because they're harder to deal with than creatures. Usually it has a premium cost on artifacts, so 3 mana. Usually, like you guys said, it doesn't usually cost mana, but they've pushed it at different times depending on what's needed in the set. If Astral Gauntlet was still a thing, and it will come back at some point, according to the developers, this is an amazing draft pick.
That's true.
It's always good because it's something that will always be able to deal with the largest unit your opponent has, and that's just a great effect to have. So it might not be constructed playable, but it's definitely something that you would use in it. So
yeah, I think like maybe they're afraid it would have been too good with that, but I just would have liked to have seen this be a little bit more pushed. Because first of all, it's like a unique effect. It's kind of a new space, and it's still relatively flimsy. So, anyways, I'm going to push a card for my realm that I didn't make. It's been on the board for way too long. Processing Plant is a 1-drop neutral 0/2 place from Carthian. With active, banish 2 cards in any graveyard to create a Savory Greens. What's a Savory Greens? It's a 0-drop neutral food with, it doesn't have a feed effect. It has target unit gains 1 HP and regenerate until the end of the turn. So basically it heals up a unit. Slow heal, but it's a heal. So obviously the flavor reference was my favorite part. This was something I kind of worked with Lord Davenport when we were talking about it. Originally, this was just a general get cards out of the graveyard thing, but then it was like, what if they were TV dinners? And that just became the whole gimmick. This is really cool because it's Baluk, Anne-Marie, Synergy, and Hate. Like, with all their later abilities, their ults, fetching stuff out of the graveyard, this is a very, very flexible card. I just don't know why it's not doing well, which is kind of why I wanted to talk about it. Grief, what are your thoughts?
Maybe it falls in line with maybe it falls in line with 2 different reasons. One, people don't really like tech cards. I mean, it took also quite a while until we got Surveillance Shell.
Yeah.
To get into the game. And second of all, maybe people still have PTSD from the last food creating card you created.
Oh yeah. That's kind of a thing, isn't it?
It was also placed, don't get me wrong, and neutral.
Yeah. I don't know. I just think, first of all, it's not just a tech card. Marie wants this so she could peel units off the top of her deck at active speed. And then Baluk wants this if he gets his ult or he has an Unburial side out to filter through the cheap drops and get those 2 or 3 that he cares about. Shadowknight, what's your thoughts? I think this card's great.
So the word crunch really hurts you guys because you're breaking 2 rules technically, but 1, can't attack is not on the place, which is an established pretty much has to be a thing. And not having a feed effect on a food, probably people don't like that also. So the people who are very stringent on those things probably are not accepting of that. The effect's fine. It does something that's needed. Graveyard Hate, something that's always helpful. Regenerates a great ability. I mean, until end of turn, I don't know if that's an issue that people are having. I don't know if it'd probably be way pushed if it didn't. So I don't know. It's just I don't know if it does enough. Like I don't know if we need the Graveyard Hate. I know that Mary's now a thing, but I also don't know if there's enough Mary seeing play that people are now thinking, oh, we need Graveyard Hate at this point. We will see Graveyard Hate at some point, though.
Isn't Marie the meta right now?
No, the thing is, you can actually outplay Marie quite well because even her active ability, while it's powerful, hitting them just hitting 1 unit more or basically milling them or discarding or anything that basically destroys their ordering on their graveyard is kind of annoying for them. And we have Journey that is played against Marie decks and in Marie decks, so it's always a back and forth. And now the ordering is completely completely void as well because people are trading their graveyards left and right. One of the best decks is Permore and Vitrek, so yeah.
One thing worth bringing up, by the way, is that interestingly enough, Marie's final level up reward, the House of Zombie, is itself a place that cannot attack because it wouldn't fit on the card. So there's a thing for you. Okay. Now, middle of my picks, let's talk about Sam the Smiling Sun. This is a really, really cool story. So for those of you who weren't watching, I think it was last episode with Gentle Cat, we were talking about staring contest, and we joked about Kalehound's little smiling sun in the art. Asdrez picked it up and was like, hey, what if we actually made, or Gentle Cat said we should make that a card. Asdrez came up with the design for it, then we had Kalehound come back around for the art. So this is a really cool story. I like when we have these like, yes, and then people just keep coming up with other stuff to like make the card work. Sam the Smiling Sun is an 8-drop mind, 8/8 toon elemental from Carachar with can't attack. It fit on the card this time. And at the end of turn, choose a unit to deal 8 damage to. Oh, this is the wrong version of it. Whoops. Let me.
Yeah, it's the old one.
Yeah. Okay. The week 2 version is the second on the thing, and it's not doing as well. It has then deal the excess damage to that unit's owner. So the original one didn't work, and then we got this one that's got the trampoline effect. I think people are worried this is too OP. Am I wrong in saying that? Or they're just worried about Mind having this big ball of just removes a bunch of stuff? I don't know. Shadow, what do you think?
I like that Smiling Sun is actually a design that I had not really thought of, but it's definitely something that's in cartoons quite often. So I'm happy that it did come to be a thing. I think people are worried about, from what I've heard, that this is very similar to Hearthstone cards, so copyright infringement type situations.
Yeah.
Or just that the Hearthstone card was strong, so they don't want to have this game. I don't play Hearthstone, so I'm not exactly sure about that. I like this design better than the other one. I was a little disappointed the last one couldn't deal damage to the face, so the fact that at least this has a way to do it, even in a roundabout way, because 8 directly to the face each turn probably is too strong. Except we do have that Desolation Giant in green for 6 that can do it every turn as an active. So who knows if that's too strong. It does have the caveat of you need over 25 life, so.
Yeah. I think the reason I like the previous design more is because this trample effect is added, making you want to deal damage to small things. I liked it when this was a way to deal damage mono a mono to big things. And I think that was kind of a little, I think that lost something. What do you think, Grief? You're looking at us super weird right now.
He's thinking.
Okay, my question is, how does it interact with Ward? Does it just hit 8 damage to face? Because we have similar interactions. Yes, excess wordings or excess effects have usually quite a weird interaction with ward effects, because ward basically swallows the effect and registers as 0 damage or 0 as the variable 0. Therefore, everything else is excess. In this case, if you have an ward unit, you hit the opponent's ward unit, maybe your friend cheap. Here, have 8 damage to face. That's one issue. I personally find it hilarious, but that's an issue. The other part is, though, I don't have a reference point for that so-called Hearthstone card, so because I also don't play Hearthstone, so I don't really know how powerful this will be. On the other hand, this just fits into control with trick, I guess, and people have Rick trick, and people have enough of that, but that.
Well, I think they could still stand to see some diversification.
But that deck already loops Wildering Memories at 9 mana, so I really don't know where to fit that card. Maybe as a top end for Ash Gertie, because she's struggling a lot and no one is playing her. I really don't know what to do with this card, to be honest. The art is huge, but that's about it.
Yeah, I think it being a targeted, like a single laser is probably part of the issue, and I think that kind of hurts the flavor a little bit. I mean, you see the art, it's burning a whole bunch of buildings, so maybe have it spread out a little wider. I don't know. I do like that it's mandatory, so if you're the only person with the unit, you're going to get hit bad.
The sun takes itself out.
Or the sun takes itself out, yeah.
Please have a lights out emote on that card.
Yeah, it still needs some work, but I think it's a really cool design. I don't like that trample thing, but that's just pick and choose. I think making this stronger was probably the wrong reaction to it not getting in.
I mean, the only card that I remember is, I think, a 7 or 9 cost card from the Elder Scrolls Legends. The wizard dude that basically had a trample damage effect and gave your spells trample damage.
Okay. So let's go with Neutralizing Shot. Neutralizing Shot is a 2-drop mind action from, it's actually missing a realm. Technically, this was one of Space Turtle submissions for the Realms DC thing before Hollow got accepted. And I guess Space Turtle decided not to go with actually giving it the realm that he was going to give it. And it says set a unit's HP to 1 and exhaust it. This is super interesting because Mind is not supposed to have hard removal. It's supposed to remove via damage. So what this does is it doesn't quite remove it. And I think that's cool because it gives Mind the ability to deal with stuff that's way out of burn range. Does this effect belong in Mind? I don't know the answer to that. But I don't know what affinity it would belong to anyway. I really, really like the art. I really, really like the effect, but I just thought it was in kind of an interesting spot. Grief, what do you think about it?
I think that kind of effect could be neutral. So because we have similar effects in Spirit that usually interact with the attack, but I think we also have them in Mind and in Strength, and basically a similar issue with the HP. The only card that I know of that basically does the HP thing with a setting to 1 is Masterful Jouster, the Duelist. And this is basically a Masterful Jouster with a Mind twist with the exhaust, because sure, putting it just at 1 HP cannot always deal with a unit, but taking it completely out of the equation to set it up for next turn, especially if you're playing it off initiative, allows you to kill it next turn before your opponent can actually save it or interact with it.
And if you want to do a layout for something cool like a Crystallize or a Moonlight's Judgment, this gives you that. Like if your opponent's got a bunch of like 1-drops and then like a big beater, now everybody's on the same playing field, and that kind of helps quite a bit. What do you think, Shadowknight?
So it falls into kind of the same space as Mesmerize. Mesmerize is just kind of a better card, but this does do a little different things by setting the HP to 1. So you can chump block the unit and things like that. So it definitely has uses. I'm just trying to think if, because I mean, we'll be played in like Victor Control or something like that's the home. I mean, I don't think Ash Kirby really wants this type of effect. I mean, maybe they'll get a punch in. So maybe they want it, but I don't really see it there. So question is it better than our current options that we have? I don't know, because I mean, we already have Matchstick and stuff to cast fireballs. So that's what our 2-drop of choice is kind of.
I kind of object. I think this and Mesmerize are filling 2 totally different roles. Mesmerize wants to deal with passives and, you know, like utility units, stuff that's got ability. You don't want your NEP set to come. Well, I guess NEP, that's a bad example, but you know, you don't want your active abilities, your passive, you know, the silence is a big focus. This is to take care of utility units and small units. Neutralizing Shot is to take care of beaters and big units because it brings everything down to the level of a 1 HP unit. So I think these 2 are really, really great. And they both fill different niches, which is why I really like this design. I just thought it was very interesting, kind of something we hadn't done before. I should have voted it up. So yeah, I don't know.
Doing pretty well though, as 89% likeness.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know more about what's going on the Discord, in wake of the whole change with crunching the text boxes and making more comments get into the game, a new initiative was started up by Hanoi from the Discord to make simple effects, to get one of each simple effect onto a card so we had a baseline from which we could work. And this is something that everyone's been talking about for a while. It's not a really novel idea, But it's really cool that we went ahead and did it. And here's a submission from this. End Times is an 8-drop neutral action from HPL that reads simply destroy all units. We don't have a WOG effect. We've never, or we do, it's in Legacy and it's way overcosted, but we don't have a WOG effect. And it costs, I think, about 8-drop neutral, 7 or 8. We talked about this before on the show, didn't we, Grief?
Yep.
And I think that's about where it's at. And now we might get this in. I don't know. We'll see. Grief, what are your thoughts on this? Because you picked it.
Before I proceed, you downvoted that card.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Okay, now here's my justification for this. In light of the text crunch, I think this should be a common. It fits on a common text box, and I think this is a waste of an uncommon slot. Rarity matters now. This is the world we live in. Right? If it could fit in on a common, why not put it in as a common?
Even worse than I am.
I'll upvote it.
I mean, you're even worse than I am. Okay. Oh, God. How do I work with you? Okay. Why do I work with you? But okay. I can understand this effect on an uncommon, and I've played a lot of card games where this effect was on an uncommon. On the uncommon slot. I can understand your criticism that this shouldn't be on a rare because that's something we should mention, can only get one singular rare into the game each week.
Yeah.
Because lo and behold, we need rarity balance.
No.
Thing is though, rarity only matters actually for the resources where people are buying those cards. Because, yeah, sure, simple comments, we need them. And I've been saying that as well for a while. The problem is just crunching text box and so on does not make a common. Impacts gameplay complexity, not just text complexity, plays a huge role. And that's the point for End Times. Yes, it's an extremely simple effect. It only has 3 words. But this is not a common. And if we get Astra Gauntlet back, it's not a common. That's a damn huge board wipe for 8. So every color can use it. And it's partially, I mean, 8.5 to 8 or 8 to 9, depending on the due to the affinity and so on and so forth. So 8 is probably the best spot we have for this kind of effect, especially when we have something like Earthquake and so on and so forth. But this is not a common. I don't care. I can understand common protest, but that's not a common.
Anyways, Shadow, what's your thoughts on this?
Yes, in Magic, board wipes are always rare. That's mainly due to limited. I try and imagine if there were any that were uncommon. There are some big damage effects that were close that dealt 10 damage that were insane at uncommon. So even effects like that are pretty crazy. So yeah, once again, if Astral Gauntlet ever comes back, even this at uncommon is very scary. I know the effect we have in Legacy is 13 mana Cataclysm, which is Spirit. I don't think it's exclusive, but it's Spirit. So I don't know if this can be 8 mana. As we said, Rumbling Earthquake, it basically does the same thing for 7 mana. So 8 mana might be okay. I would just kind of have to see it in practice to see if this is too good or completely and utterly worthless. Like,
I mean, I can't understand 9 mana as well, especially since it's neutral. And afterwards, the affinity-esque board wipes start on 10, 11, 12 anyway. That also have an upside for you.
Yeah, like if we go with Nefet, I mean, that's 11 mana and deals 6 damage to everything and leaves you with a giant body and keeps coming back. So, I mean, we wouldn't want this to be up to that. You know?
Yeah. Eager to see more from the Simple Commons Initiative. Okay. The Misfortune Dragon from Wujek Marion, who said he's taken a week hiatus because he was not doing too well after the text crunch. Misfortune Dragon is a 4-drop strength 4/3 dragon from nowhere in particular, with flying and summon. Guess whether your top deck cards, that doesn't read right, cost is odd or even. If you're correct, deal 4 damage randomly spread between enemy units. So, yeah, this effect wouldn't fit on a rare. Would only fit on a rare in the new world, and that was kind of frustrating. But he managed to get it in before the change, so let's talk. So you have 4 random pings. If you know what the top card of your deck is via Scour, or you get lucky, or you built a deck full of even cost cards. Shadow, I'll let you start on this one.
I'm annoyed by these designs. Sorry to people who keep making them. The plasma dragons, the hate spawns. The randomness makes it so they get to be in strength, but the damage to units is really a mind thing, and strength is supposed to have destroy, and that's just kind of how I see it. Also, this is just quite strong just as a unit. A 4/3 flyer for 4, even if you don't get the summon effect, is not a bad unit on its own. I mean, you're supposed to get around 10 stat points. So a 4/4 for flying for 4 is about baseline. So you're losing maybe 1 stat point, and then also have the ability for this pretty good upside. That is about a 5 mana effect that you get half the time. So that's, or even more, because that we have Javen, the dragon guy, who can tell you if the top card of your deck's a dragon. So if you play a deck with only even dragons, you know the top card of your deck is dragons, you're guaranteed to get this effect. And there's also a big initiative for Scour to Dragons. Dragon Totem just got in.
Yeah. So. I want to see someone make a mono even deck with these cards. Great thoughts.
This card is pretty good in Dragons, especially since Dragons have a pretty glaring issue. Not just that they're pretty disconnected with each other, but that they really don't do anything in the early game, or can actually survive against tokens. Depending on how you build your dragon deck, if it's more fish support, if it's more the carpet bomb approach with plasma dragon and the auto bloom, the mind dude and Argos, they basically struggle for the first 4 to 5 turns. And Misfortune Dragon usually does the job quite well to actually get you there. Funny story, actually, this was meant to be an uncommon because it's basically the equivalent to Fortune Dragon, which we already have in game, which is an uncommon. It was just by mistake posted as the wrong rarity.
Oh no, it wasn't a mistake. He was mad about the text. He was mad.
You can scroll down and look at his comment if you want.
Oh really?
Oh. Yeah, click the one more reply.
Oh, okay.
He was mad about the rare lock.
Because we've talked about the rarity beforehand, before this whole ordeal actually became the thing, and someone was pointing out that's not a common. Yeah, it was an uncommon. Sorry, maybe he changed that commentary later on due to the recent events. Yeah, and the results for a dragon deck, it's actually really useful. Partially also needed to actually build a somewhat cohesive dragon deck that can do stuff in the late game. Sure, I can understand the annoyance of this, as I said, carpet bomb with stadium effects that, yeah, what are 1 HP units?
Yeah.
But as a dragon, it's definitely one of the better ones you could have in the game.
Yeah. So it remains to be seen if we'll burn one of our rare slots on that later if Wujek decides to come back. Woo! Master of the Void. This is a 0 vote pick from Entropic Mage.
Yes.
Master of the Void is a 3-drop mine 0/1 Arcanist from nowhere in particular. It is a rare. With untargetable, unblockable, whenever a unit dies, banish it. Active, lose untargetable, attack becomes the number of your banished cards. Okay, Shadowknight, why did you pick this before I get to the obvious?
No, Grief picked this.
Grief picked this?
Yes, because don't forget, we also give feedback here on this show.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. Okay.
We'll point out, like with Oscar designs on other card designs, like the occasional Killhound design that didn't really go anywhere. Entropic Mage, in this case, goofed a little bit up.
Yeah. So, yeah, I want to explain why for people who are curious. So interacting with the number of cards in Banish doesn't work. There's a card called Swing Cook that says, "Oh, I'm going to make four foods for you to pick from. They're going to have unique names. You can pick a food." How it does that is it creates a whole bunch of cards in Banish, and then it only gets the 4 with the unique name, so it risks running duplicates. The other 3, after you pick one, remain in Banish. The way this game uses Banish mechanically, effects like this just aren't possible yet. Nick talked about writing a fix, creating a new zone called Bind. It's not there. So that's why this has 0 votes. Grief, you have any other commentary?
First of all, Bind may actually never happen. Have you ever taken a look at the Trello? And Bind was mentioned like 1.5 years ago.
Yeah.
So much for that. But yeah, as you already mentioned, is our RFG effects. Our RFG is basically just a trash dump that stores value. If you play a consign, this thing gets like plus what's 47?
Plus 47 or so, yeah.
We actually tested this. Had a long conversation in the voice channel about this, and it actually became a 60 attack 1. So I don't know exactly where the additional cards, or if the opponent was playing a larger deck. Oh no, actually I think it was played against the card creator deck, so I think their deck is larger. So.
Yeah.
In addition to that, because just of the consign interaction, RFG is the only zone that is shared by all players. Mm-hmm. That means that even if you create cards in there, your opponent and you yourself can grab stuff of it if you ever interact with it in this way. So even cards that are quote-unquote only banished for your opponent still count towards this card. So yeah, I mean, I would also like to see a Grand Manju for your Yu-Gi-Oh players out there in this game, but we cannot do that. Sorry.
Yeah, but it's still an interesting design if it worked the way it worked.
Exactly.
I would be sad to see a rare go to this because it's only got the 1 HP. Even with the Untar, that's going to die. There's still plenty of ways to deal with it. Moonlight's Judgment. There's others.
I
think.
They're massive.
Yeah, this doesn't work like Magic, where you can attack with this, activate it, and then deal lethal. Like, that's not how this works.
Yeah, or if you're now, if this did, by the way, work, this would be a fun combo with Mass and Many. Getting its attack really ridiculous, switching it.
Food card.
I like that card. I mean that card.
Food card. It gets at you.
Okie dokie then. So, oh yeah, we're in Greece picks. Okay.
Now we're on my picks.
Now we're on your picks. I'm all mixed up today. I haven't got a lot of sleep. Hope's Home, which should have been with our DC stuff, but whatever. It's done.
It's not for the DC, so no.
I don't know why.
So I can say why. Lord Davenport thinks this can get in on its own merit and does not need the extra bump from the DC to make it happen. So
he still need it to go for the DC. Okay, whatever.
He doesn't want to use up a DC slot. If he can get 4 Hope's Hollow cards in this week instead of 3, that's better.
Anyways, Hope's Home is a 2-drop 0/2 plays from Hope's Hollow with can't attack. And summon, create a hearty breakfast, which is a feed, give a unit +1/+1. And whenever you play a food, create a beggar, the beggar being a 0-drop 1/1. This is part of the really cool combo in Legacy, right, Shadowknight?
Yes, so with food card, your hearty breakfast costs 0. And you just play a lot of 1-drop foods. There's the one that makes star chips that just got in. So you play that, you play hearty breakfast, you play a couple beggars, you end up with 3 3s that get to attack, and you get a few star chips in your hand at that so you lose no tempo whatsoever. You keep the exact same number of cards in your hand, and you end up with some strong attacking units. Just really cool.
Any other thoughts on it?
I mean, I think we've been trying to push food. Food's a really weird mechanic because it's very hard to cost. Because people see it and are like always thinking, oh, we're going to drop 30 units after we play this feat effect. It needs to cost 60 mana. Or so it either gets overcosted, which truly Hearty Breakfast might even be overcosted at 1 mana. Like it might be able to be 0 mana. It would be pushing it. It would be kind of scary at that cost, but that's the thing. Yeah. So what Hope's Hollow is doing is fixing the food problem by giving you the units. So you get the units that cost nothing. So they will always be able to eat things. So the way you do this is you build up a hand of 6 Hungry Beggars from ringing bells and playing cards like this, and then you drop all of them, and you have all these 6/6s for 0 that you got out because you had a lot of cool food to feed them. So it helps with that. There are other ways to do food where Carachar put it on a unit, so you get the unit, the food effect is kind of just a tack on, it doesn't really change the mana cost. So there's that way to do it also. So there's different ways to make food work, and there are people who like food. I'm one of them. Lord Davenport is also one of them. Zinker, trying to get a food in every realm, is another person. So there are people who like food.
And
I find food, okay, Stranger also. And I find food to be a really unique effect that we have in this game. It's not something that I see in a lot of other card games where you get these bonuses every time you play a unit. There's equipment, there's artifacts, there's things like that that do it in like Magic and probably other games also that do something like it. But this is something where you get nothing up front, but then it can snowball out of control if you have the stuff to make it happen. But having the stuff to make it happen is the difficult part. And that's what Hope's Hollow is trying to make it happen.
So, Greaves, do you have any thoughts that weren't covered by that manifesto?
None at all, to be honest. I like the card. I'm fine with it. I hope it gets in Lost on Merit alone.
It's probably gonna.
Don't count your eggs.
Yeah, we had a lot of good cards that.
Don't count your eggs and bacon. Okay. Anyway, where are we sitting? We have a candle thingy.
Ominous Candelabra.
The Ominous Candelabra is a 3/2 spirit from nowhere in particular, with art by Tostalmo. Oh. Summon, deal 1 damage, actions cost 1 more. Fun, interesting control tool. It doesn't have the usual Tostalmo incredibly goofy fun flavor, but it's still a little weird, little off-putting because you got a candelabra. I don't know why it's so ominous. It's a spirit, which I think might have been an oversight. Do we have spirits in this game?
No, because we changed every spirit to Spectre because we have the spirit affinity.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's something to think about. Grief, you are so excited. I'm going to let you have this one.
Sorry for popping off prematurely. I love hate bears. I want more hate bear effects. This is a better hate bear. We have a hate bear in red that basically uses the well artwork and some tentacles. That basically has the same effect. But this also deals 1 damage. That's why it costs 1 more, I guess. But also has therefore 1 more HP. Hate bears in our game have usually been pretty damn terrible. This gets there I mean, it could use 1 more HP because the action is also the action +1 is also a drawback for yourself. Even if you get around it with cost reduction and so on and so forth. But if you really want to go the hate bear route, you're basically stockpiling those effects on the board. So even for yourself, actions aren't really playable. What I can see though, especially in Legacy, is an hate bear's Kyung-Mi deck. You can play this card for cheap for 1 mana if you level up. That's not just a ping, but also reduces your cost of your actions, or increases the cost of the actions. You can play your mind actions for -1 mana in this case. You can also basically play a pretty heavy board-centric deck, and if you're using Chariot, because nearly all Kyung-Mi decks that aren't combo heavy or tempo heavy run Chariot, can buff the HP and make them more survivable. So if it's like we have currently more action heavier format with one of the top decks being a pure action deck like if we have more of that in a metagame, those decks become more viable. In a more unit heavy deck, or unit or mid-range heavy meta, those decks usually fall out of favor. So having this in our collection as a toolbox or a tool to use later on is actually pretty important and a unique style to play the game.
Yeah. Oh, I did finally catch the cool Toast Almo flavor now that I've read the flavor text. That's clever. I like that. Shadow, go.
So I think this is perfect for the current metagame we're in, which was actually the main reason I chose this to talk about how we have a Vic deck that makes it so you can never attack, which is really annoying to play with, and then at turn 4 it deals just 25 damage to the face because it gets to copy all their actions. So by making actions cost 1 more, this definitely slows down that type of deck. This also could give Ashgardy a jolt in the arm because the 1 damage can be dealt to the face, and also a lot of versions play just a lot of Dune Walkers and things like that as their units that kind of do action things, so they don't have many actions, so they can kind of get all of that, all the good stuff without any of the negatives. So.
Yeah. Okay. So that's interesting, a cool piece to the meta. And we saved this one to talk about for last, which I think is an interesting place to put it, but I didn't do that. So let's get really excited for Rock Puncher.
Punch.
Rock Puncher.
He punches rocks.
Is a 1-drop strength 3/1 Lazabo. And I'm done talking, that's all. So first of all, Cornmeal, great job as always with the art. Your Lazabos, your Komodo dragon looking things are awesome. Super cool. We don't have this yet, and we kind of need this. This is a 3/1 hiker. A lot of people like this. I'm a little worried about this because I was always taught like 1 HP, it's just gonna die.
Get cooked.
In a lot of cases. But why are people crazy about this? I'm crazy about this. I have voted it. What are we talking about? Grief, go.
I've talked so much the last card. Let Shadow start.
Shadow, go.
Okay.
Oh.
I chose this because we've had a lot of tries to get into a 3/1. I did it for, I think it was a design. Yeah, it was a design competition where it was the throwback, which I must say was one of the best design competitions. So I'm fine that the card did not get in, but I made the vanilla joke and made a 3/1 vanilla card, and it did decently well in the competition. So there are people who like this, and I think the only thing that we need is the correct artwork, it seems, and we have it.
And the right tribe. The tribe is relevant.
Tribe helps also, yes. Also putting it in strength, a lot of people didn't like that. They're like, this should be vanilla, this should be neutral. There are comments in the comment section, I think, saying that it should be neutral, but I don't know if that's really an issue. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there weren't. Maybe it was commented in the actual Discord. But I'm fine with it being strength. Heldum having a good 1-drop is good for Heldum. We did lower the amount of mana though that now costs Heldum to level up, so it's not as bad, and you still can get it to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's not too much to say. It's a 3/1 for 1. As everyone likes to say, it dies to Can Cat. So, but it's a good aggro unit, and it's nice to have good aggro units. I mean, I would love to see a Zoo style deck, which is just low-costed 3-power units. We have Enamored Whelp. The issue with that is that thing should totally have leap, so it could actually block the butterfly and get its effect to actually happen. It's very difficult to actually get that 3/3 going. So, but
yeah. Great. What are your thoughts?
I love this because I always wanted a 3/1 in this game again. So I think we had one with the Boars.
No, Boars was a 5/1.
F5, exactly. I really wished we would explore more of those vanilla aggressive units, because this is actually a card that is needed for multiple reasons. First of all, for the aggression, second of all, for the stat line, and to basically show people, even new designers, what our baseline can look like. What I'm a little bit weirded out by, because usually those vanilla units are in neutral, this is a strength vanilla 3/1. So the question would be, what would vanillas in affinities look like stat baseline regarding stat baseline? Well, that's a whole different discussion that we don't have to have here.
Yeah.
What I actually like, because it's in this case a Lazabo, it gains all the benefits of it.
Mm-hmm.
Tend, it can be surged, it can be powered or buffed with other Lazabo effects. If it dies, it counts towards Zeke, and so on and so forth. So glad we're finally getting there. If Tahaza would be here, he would have a field day, because that's also a design he always wanted to have in the game. So thank you, Cornmeal. You're doing the God's work.
It's interesting to see these new players kind of pick up on the general directions that a lot of the players wanted to go in anyway.
Yeah.
So hopefully those 40 upvotes also rally in game and get the same love, and we get.
Yeah, it's probably getting in. I'm gonna stop the share. So this was a great week. It's interesting. I'm really still beaten up about the text crunch and the rarity lock. But I do want to say to all the card designers out there, we are still doing really, really good. Like, there's still a lot of these designs that had to deal with the box crunch and are really thriving and coming up with cool, innovative ideas. Some of us are figuring out ways to cheat, and that's fine for now. We'll get used to it. I'd like to thank, as always, my co-host, Grief. You were great.
Oh, well, I didn't do much, just talk a lot, but I usually do that, so.
Yeah, that's what you're here for. And Shadowknight, it was great having you on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
It was nice having you here, to be honest.
Yeah, seeing more seeing us beta players who actually, well, a beta player and then a beta player who actually knows what he's talking about. Really, really fun. So, quick reminder, if you're interested, if you do art, or if you do really bad art but really are not embarrassed of that, Faedus is holding that unit art contest. Link in the description if you want to check that out. Try your best and make some art for the game.
The theme is Ascended Demon. So we've dealt with a lot of fallen angels. This is the reverse. So a demon that now has a heart of gold.
So just draw it on a medium you're basically more comfortable with, and post your picture in the Discord in the art sharing channel. So
yeah.
Good luck to you. I probably will also try my hand on it.
Yeah, just message Faedus and he'll give you any additional details you might need on the Discord. So yeah, thanks very much for having us on, or for being on. Like, comment, and subscribe for validation purposes to remind me I should keep doing the show. And have fun and keep playing collective and executing your democratic process there. Bye.
See ya.